I hereby sentence the convicts to life imprisonment for the said counts 1, 4, 5, and 6 instead of death sentence. Life is sacred to God.
The fact that many people, for one reason or the other, cannot express their views on what is happening in the country, that is the biggest disaster. But let me tell you something. When the intelligent people, when the wise people decide to keep quiet, the ignorant people will become very loud, uncontrollable, and they will become the philosophers of the day.
All right, everyone, welcome to Pulse Media Services. Still on the matter of Nnamdi Kanu's conviction by Justice Omotosho. Now, we have in this particular episode an analyst that took his time to look carefully at the conviction of Nnamdi Kanu. Now, in this analysis, the man carefully took his time to look at each sentences and the implication of these sentences to the future of Nnamdi Kanu and then the future of Biafra. Now, I want you to watch this particular episode. Please endeavor to watch it line by line as you see each conviction and the stated terms that were there. Now, I'm not sure whether in each of these convictions there's a particular one that was declared what we usually called sentence, life sentence, but of course this conviction runs concurrently. But of course, since terrorism matter is liable to death sentence, what we can say is that it was rather that death sentence was rather converted rather to life imprisonment. Now, please watch this particular video, then I'll come back with my take.
We will continue our discussions on the case of Nnamdi Kanu, bearing in mind that it's not a discussion about an individual. It's a discussion about a major event that affects our country and affects millions of lives in Nigeria. Nnamdi's case is a very sensitive topic, I'm aware. Many people don't want to talk about it. Because if you criticize him being an Igbo, you'll be accused of being a sabo or a sellout. If you criticize him not being an Igbo, you'll be accused of being an Igbo hater. As a result, many people keep quiet. But it is the silence that is the problem. The fact that many people, for one reason or the other, cannot express their views on what is happening in the country, that is the biggest disaster. But let me tell you something. When the intelligent people, when the wise people decide to keep quiet, the ignorant people will become very loud, uncontrollable, and they will become the philosophers of the day. That is what has happened in the case of Nnamdi Kanu. Not now, it had been that way for a long time. Intelligent people decided to keep calm. They did not want to be accused. And worse still, they did not want to be attacked. But that silence had cost us so much. Nnamdi Kanu and his IPOB put together are the worst thing to happen to the Igbos after this war. I know how you will feel about this, those who support him so fanatically, who are willing to kill on his command. You will be offended to hear me tell you that Nnamdi Kanu and the IPOB are the worst thing that happened to the Igbos since this war. I know that so many stories have been told how they fought, how ESN fought the Fulani herdsmen, how they are fighting and killing their cows and stopping them from doing harm to our farmers. I know about the activities of some herdsmen, how they invaded villages even in my own state, Enugu, how women were raped in their farms, how the killings were occurring. Of course, it is a big disaster that Nigerian government failed to provide protection for the citizens, which, as you know, is the major cause of problems for Nigeria in Washington, D.C. All these things you're hearing about Nigeria being designated as a country of particular concern and about the threats of military operations in Nigeria, they all stem from the fact that Nigerian government over the years failed to perform its basic duty in international law to protect its citizens. So it is a grave failure on the part of the state. But that does not in itself justify everything that is called an alternative. IPOB, its method, its language, its structure of leadership, and the confusion it foisted upon the Southeast turned it into a menace. We should not celebrate it, even though we are concerned about the Fulani herdsmen, even though we are concerned about the escalating violence in the southeastern enclave. That does not justify what has happened in the name of IPOB. So when I say this, I want you to take me seriously because I understand the gravity of what I'm saying. IPOB and Nnamdi pose the greatest threat to the Igbos. The harm they caused will take a very long time to repair. It doesn't mean that we should fold our arms and do nothing about herdsmen. We must pressure the government of Nigeria to protect us. If necessary, we should join Washington to encourage Washington to put pressure on Nigerian government. I prefer that America will come and intervene instead of having IPOB in Nigeria or in the Southeast. So we must pursue the diplomatic option. If Nigerian government cannot protect us, we don't necessarily have to create ESN. We must try everything else. And that is why I think, ironically as it sounds, that the pressure from Washington is justified, it is necessary, and probably nothing else could get Nigerian government to wake from its stupor. But having said that, I must now turn to the young Igbo youths. Nnamdi Kanu's IPOB posed the biggest threat. The only thing worse than that is the fact that you believed him. The only thing worse than that is that there are millions of poorly informed people from the Southeast who look up to Nnamdi as a messiah. He is not a messiah. Where he landed today is exactly where he would have been under any circumstance. There was no way he could do all he wanted to do without the repercussions and the consequences we're seeing now. God knows that I do not harbor any ill will towards Nnamdi. Left for me, I wish he could be released and treated. When I mean releasing Nnamdi Kanu, I'm not suggesting you release him and leave him in the street for him to continue his IPOB operations. Now, in the bottom of my heart, with every sincerity, I think Nnamdi belongs to hospital, not prison. But I understand why many people, his supporters, are slow to raise the insanity defense. Because if they admit that he is sick, that will be the end of the El Dorado they created under the guise of IPOB and ESN. But they have to admit the truth. As I explained in a separate post I made yesterday, I said Biafra is an El Dorado. It is something unobtainable. It can be obtained. Insofar as the South are not part of the new country that Nnamdi wants to create, Biafra does not belong to the Igbos. No hill in Igbo land, no river in Igbo land, no forest in Igbo land, nothing bears the name Biafra. The only Igbo town that starts with a B is Bende. So Biafra is not ours. Biafra is not something we can appropriate. I've explained this elaborately in my other posts. I wouldn't say more now. But I want every Igbo listening to me. Biafra is not ours. Biafra is not Igbo. Anybody telling you that Biafra existed from time immemorial, that is nonsense. Biafra doesn't belong to the Igbos. The only community in Nigeria that can lay claim to that name, if at all, are Yenagoa, Port Harcourt, Uyo, and Calabar people. But they may not even lay claim to that because Biafra was just the name explorers used to describe the inward curve of the coastal shoreline, Atlantic coastal shoreline. There was a curve under the country of Benin, Benin Republic. And probably that was how they called themselves, Benin Republic, the country at the curve of the Bight of Benin. So, if Biafra had been created in 1967, yes, that country would have been a country adjacent or adjoining that inward curve called the Bight of Biafra. Probably that was why Ojukwu chose that name. But the Igbos do not have that coastal shoreline now. It belongs to a different community who are not Igbos and who are very, very vociferous in their resistance, their refusal to join the Biafran experiment. We got to think and think hard. We got to say the truth to ourselves, even if it pains. Thank you.
Another particular video, a lot was said about Nnamdi Kanu, and then from the look of things, a lot of people have the opinion that since bandit did worse than that and are doing worse than that, he doesn't deserve that kind of punishment. Now, if you look at what Nnamdi Kanu was actually clamoring for, he was clamoring for Biafra, which, of course, the judge admitted that is within the right of every group of people or group of people to clamor for self-determination as it is written in international laws and conventions of which Nigeria is a signatory. Therefore, it is within the right of Biafrans to clamor for an independent state of Biafra. Of course, where the problem may seem to lie is that the court probably believes that the writing was not done. But of course, if you look at what then, let me start by that by asking what the writing is. The writing is, according to the judge, was that approach your representative and then talk to them about the need for secession, the need to break away. If you put it into a debate, and then you're gonna have your way. But of course, another argument that is probably tenable is that a lot of people out there, or a lot of people out there, don't trust their leaders because they may not want to push the Biafra agenda forward, considering the fact that these guys are making good money from the government, and then they feel that remaining in Nigeria is paying them, they're making money from it, and therefore they probably may not want to agree with the commoners, feels that Biafra is the way forward. Now, you have seen the convictions, and at the end of the day, the trial judge convicted Nnamdi Kanu and sentenced him to life imprisonment. What's your take on this matter? What's the way forward? What do you think Biafrans need to do to chart a new way forward? Could this be the end of Biafra? Do you think there's another approach that should be taken? Do you think that somebody else should stand and then replace Nnamdi Kanu while he's just serving his term? Or do you believe that, well, maybe in the next dispensation, Nnamdi Kanu can be released to his people, and then they set another agenda, or probably, simply put, rather, think political solution is the way. What's the political solution in your own opinion that should be taken? Should the political solution be that now that okay, Nnamdi Kanu is serious and his people are serious about Biafra, they need to do the right, they want to do the right thing this time around, since it is written in the international law and convention that people or group of people have the right to secede or self or to have the self-determination. Or do you think the best way is a political solution, not just a political solution, a political solution that will bring equity to the table, where apart from freeing Nnamdi Kanu, there will be justice for the Igbo people within the confine of the Nigerian state? Or you feel the best solution is that Biafra should be declared instantly? Let me know what you feel in the comment section. This is Pulse Media. My name is Larry. I'll see you in another video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe so that you continue to see more of our engagement and conversation happenings within and outside Nigeria. I'll see you in another video.